Hello, friends, and welcome to Pour and Explore wine, food, and travel stories from around the world. I'm Nick Elliott, the Wine Guy. This is where we sip, savor, and wander through the world of wine, explore incredible food, and uncover the stories behind unforgettable destinations. Each week, you'll hear engaging conversations with wine pros, chefs, travelers, and fellow enthusiasts, plus educational episodes to help you sip smarter and explore deeper. So, grab a glass, pull up a chair, and let's pour, explore, and celebrate the good life. Let's dive in. Today, we are joined by two people who are on a mission to tear down the gates that keep us from enjoying wine the way it was meant to be. They are the voices behind the hit podcast Secret Lives of Sommeliers. I'm joined today by Sage Toomey and her partner Lucrezio. These guys are pulling back the curtain on what really happens when the cellar door closes. We're going to talk about the secret origin of their show, which naturally started in a bar, and how they made major career pivots to find their place in the universe of wine. We're getting into the nitty-gritty today, from service horror stories involving exploding bottles to why Sage can predict your order in 10 seconds just by looking at you. We're going to talk about why comparing wine to Coke, Sprite, or even Capri Sun is actually a better way to learn than using pretentious terms like educated tannins. So pour yourself a glass of whatever you're loving right now, whether it's a high-end Burgundy or a $15 table wine. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here today. All right, Sage, Lucrezio, thank you so much for being on Pour and Explore. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. When Sage reached out to me on Facebook a few weeks ago, I was really excited to get that message, because you guys are doing something really cool on the podcast side. You've got Secret Lives of Sommeliers. I want to hear a little bit more about that. I've been listening to the show. It seems like so much fun. Tell me how you got that started.
Yeah, so for me, I just entered the industry and I was like, wow, there is so much to talk about, not just within telling people about wine itself, but like just everything that goes down behind the scenes is insane. And I was like, I can't believe there's no one talking about this. Like, this could be a podcast.
Yeah, the idea started at a bar, naturally, of course, naturally. And we thought that we just had a different perspective on wine, and especially just being the age that we are, we definitely do bring we are a different side of the coin, so to speak, in the industry. So we just wanted to chit chat about it. And then, of course, bring in our personal lives and our personability into the show as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I was saying earlier that, I just love the laid back attitude you take towards wine. And that is my philosophy as well. We don't need to be snippy. We don't need to be snooty. We don't need to be pretentious towards wine. And I think your generation, which is different from my generation, prefers that. Absolutely. It should be something to be enjoyed. It should be something that we can laugh about and smile about, whether or not we're able to pronounce what's on the label or not, as long as what's in the bottle is good. That's the way I look at it. So it's nice to see that same attitude coming from you guys. So I'm really excited to have you on the show. Let's talk about the beginnings here. Let's talk about your foray into wine. Sage, why don't we start with you? Tell me how you decided that wine was the right track for you.
It was by accident. So I was working a different job, actually, and then I just needed a second job. And so I just happened to get a job at this little wine tasting room. That's actually where we met each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the management there at the time was really into teaching, so she was okay with hiring me without a ton of prior knowledge or certification, and then taught me a lot, and then also paid for me to get my certification.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. And how about you, my friend?
So I began my journey in wine when I actually dropped out of college for the first time. I was studying engineering. I was working in a co-op, and I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do at the time. And I went back to what I did best, which was restaurants. And it happened to be in a wine cafe. And from there, it just blossomed. I found the wines on the list that I really liked, and then I got really good at selling them. And then there's literally a whole universe in wine, and that excited me. And from there, I've jumped to James Beard award-winning restaurants, other wine tasting rooms, like where Sage and I met. And yeah, the journey has been fun. I am going back to school, but the wine will definitely be my main source of income for sure.
Excellent. Just based on those stories alone, we could talk for hours about pivoting in your life. And that is certainly a story of mine as well. I could go on for forever about pivots that I've made in my life and in my career. So I think it's great to hear from some two people in your generation that it's not too early or too late to start a pivot. If you're not happy in your career or with what you're doing in school or whatever the case might be, finding something new and different that you love and that you can really get into is a great thing to be able to do, and finding the strength and the courage to move forward with that. I applaud you guys. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Some wise words I heard once was, you can do whatever you want, just don't be lazy about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. That was what was
Yeah,
right.
and it's hard to get lazy when we're doing things that we don't enjoy or are just meh about. 100%. Yeah, completely agree with that, and I love that. Fantastic. One of my questions was, where did you always want to be in the wine world? And obviously that's not the case for either of you. So I appreciate that feedback there. What is the wildest thing, Lucrezio, that you've witnessed during service? Maybe something that made you say, I'm not getting paid enough for this.
Unfortunately, it was an event that I inflicted. It was during graduation season, and it's already a busy season during that time of year. And I had this table that they purchased like some really nice champagne off of the list. And I don't know what happened. Maybe I just opened the bottle too quickly, but it exploded all over the table.
Oh, no.
I'm sure that's like I'm sure that's a canon event for anybody working in wine. Like that just has to happen at some point, and it happened. And it was actually, I feel like it's everyone's worst fear when you're drinking a bottle of sparkling wine. But nobody was injured. Just they lost about half the bottle, which was the unfortunate part. But yeah, I would say that was probably my worst experience that I've witnessed.
I've had bottles, but never on a table.
Oh no, just in front of everyone, in front of God.
just out there in the open.
Yeah.
You see some of those wine fail videos where people are trying to lance the champagne and that just goes completely awry. They cut off the top of the bottle or the bottle explodes.
Yeah.
I will never try that. I don't know about you guys, but I will never try that.
It scares me. She's done it before.
I have, but never, only recreationally. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Never on top.
Yeah, there's a little too much room for error as far as I'm concerned on that.
I've never had a problem with it, but it could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Sage, I know Lucrezio has had a lot of experience serving and everything. You've also been behind the counter, serving people, tasting rooms, things like that. Do you have like a red flag that you can right away that someone's going to be an issue?
I mean, so many.
Yeah, give us a couple sound bites here.
I wouldn't call anything necessarily a red flag, but I think it's funny how well I can predict what somebody's going to order based on like within 10 seconds of interacting with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like it's scary how well I can guess.
And what's the tip off for you? Is it just intuition?
Age is a huge thing.
Yeah.
age, gender, race, any demographic, really.
Sure.
I'm like, I can pinpoint. But if you're, unfortunately for me, a woman under 30, like, you're either going to get a Moscato or a Sauv Blanc, and yeah, 90% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever had to? You guys are talking about the Secret Lives of Sommeliers, so I'll jump into that game with you. Have you ever had to BS your way through a recommendation, or a bottle recommendation to someone?
Part of it's in the job description. I would say too, like along the lines of red flags. Another huge one is when somebody is going to order a glass of wine and they ask you, "Is the bottle fresh? Is it opened? Was it opened today?"
Oh, yeah.
You know, because like that right away tells me, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's just my personal sense of resentment towards that because I don't really care personally. But maybe that's like the snobby side that we're trying to like be devoid from. But yeah.
I once brought bottles over to a table for a flight and they saw the date written on the back, and it was literally the day before. And they were like, "I'm sorry, but we're not paying for a tasting with day-old bottles." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll go try and find some ones that aren't open." I was just in disbelief. I was like, "I promise it's really not going to taste different." You can't fight with that. Like,
yeah, 100%. And for our listeners, what they're talking about is in a tasting room setting, we're going to open, depending on the traffic that's coming through the tasting room, we're going to open 5, 10, 15, 20 bottles of a certain vintage every day. And we're not going to finish every single bottle. That 20th bottle we might only pour half of by the end of the shift. And yes, we are 100% going to use that bottle the next day. And as people who are trained in it, we're going to taste it first to make sure that it's still okay. But 99.9% of the time, it's going to be okay. Absolutely. Yeah, I dig what you're saying. I find a lot of misnomers or a lot of misunderstandings about sommeliers. If you guys were to give the audience one piece of advice on what a somm is not, what would that be? Or shouldn't be? How about that?
What a somm shouldn't be. My biggest one, I'm going to say should be, a somm should be overall a nice, personable individual. At least even from my experience, even with the limited knowledge that I have, just with the limited age and experience, I take umbrage with people that assume that I don't know what I'm talking about. And there are some sommeliers in certain calibers of restaurants that do act like that, unfortunately. And people want to buy wine from nice people. And like, dead serious, there's actually a bottle shop that we go to in our area quite frequently. And we always pick our own bottles, and the customer service just isn't there, unfortunately. And we always say they could easily upsell us a $20 bottle if they gave us a personal recommendation and said it with a smile.
And the thing that's ironic about that place is that they require a higher level of certification to work there. And so they have that. They're technically more knowledgeable, but they're not selling as much because they're not friendly.
Yeah, that's and I've run into that same thing many times. Absolutely. Great restaurants around the world. You get that high level, maybe master somm that they know everything. Oh, fantastic, everything. Can you say it with a smile? That's can you make that recommendation with a smile? I totally agree. And if you don't, it does sour the experience. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And most of the time, people are going to still want the Sauv Blanc or the Pinot Noir, even if you have all this crazy knowledge.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, there's some salesmanship that goes into making wine recommendations. That is understanding who you're looking at, understanding who you're talking to, being able to read people, when they walk in the door is a great salesperson quality. And that is what we are at the end of the day, especially in the restaurant and the retail space. We are salespeople. So we are trying to give the people what they want. Now, if they ultimately wind up with the Sauvignon Blanc or the Pinot Noir, then good for them. As my listeners know, my motto is you drink what you like. And if you only drink Pinot and you only drink Sauvignon Blanc, then that's what you get. But we're there to maybe a nice Vermentino is going to go in place of that Sauvignon Blanc, or a nice Grenache instead of the Pinot Noir or something like that. Can we sell them on that at the end of the day? And that takes, I think, a good attitude and a smile, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another thing too, I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it when sommeliers can explain wine in a more tangible way. Because I'm sure you and all of your listeners, we're all familiar with, there's always jokes like oaky afterbirth when talking about like tasting notes, silky tannins, educated tannins. Like nobody really, even I don't know what that means.
I don't know
you know?
what that means.
So it's, so especially with people that don't know a lot about wine or asking a lot of questions, I like to say, I start off with, okay, would you rather be drinking, if I'm gonna give you these three options, do you want to drink a Coke, a Sprite, or a Capri Sun? So from there, Coke, you
Like that.
aging more red wine, right? Sprite, white wine, Capri Sun, Moscato, or bubbles.
Yeah.
And from there, you can just dissect what it is really that they're looking for. And I think it's impressive to do it that way because honestly, when you're asking those questions, I don't think they really realize what you're doing. And it just makes the experience more fun.
Yeah, I think that's a great line of questioning for a customer. What we're talking about is not only, I'm not going to go into all the crazy wine terms and all of that, but how developed is your palate? And moreover, what do you prefer? And I think that's a great set of questions to ask. I think that's really good. You guys are at the beginning, or at least in the first act of your careers as somms. How do you continue your education? I know, Lucrezio, you said that you're going back to school in the fall. Is that wine school, or you're going to study something else and you're going to continue your wine studies?
So I am continuing the degree that I originally dropped out of. I'll be studying mechanical engineering.
Okay.
And my hope is maybe sometime in the future intersecting the engineering and the wine together, whether that is like creating winemaking equipment or working on a winery. That would be incredible. As far as continuing my education, the more that I learn and the more that I experience, the more that I realize I don't know, and the more that I realize I have to experience more. And in each stage, I really wanted to get my hands dirty. I did a winemaking internship in Napa Valley just last year. I was there for 8 weeks. I was with Nyers Vineyards. It was incredible. Such a fun experience. I'm biased, but I think they have some of the best wines coming out of California, truly, and Napa Valley specifically. But no, and like even that experience, it was great. I learned that I didn't want to be a winemaker per se, but I did learn that engineering is there's a huge need for that in Napa. And that was another tug at me to start going back to school. And yeah, so I feel like I'll be doing both at the same time, wine
Love
and
it.
traditional education.
Yeah, that's a great thing to aspire to. Is when people ask me about my winemaking career up in Monterey County, I tell them that making wine is 50% art and 50% science. And the science of winemaking today would not be possible without all of the great equipment that we have to use. It wouldn't happen as quickly. It wouldn't happen as safely as it does today with the quality of wine that's being produced. that goes down to a great winemaking staff and the great equipment that they're using in the winery to produce that wine. I definitely applaud you for that. Sage, same question. Besides the obvious, drinking, how are you advancing your studies?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Sorry. So for me, I just want to stay on like the tasting room side. I have a more of a background in like small business ownership. That's what I was doing before.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, my long-term goal is to do that again. So what I'm really focusing in on is just networking within this wine community and really aspiring to get to the point where I can do some kind of like partial ownership takeover or something like that. And as far as education goes, it's just the WSET level 3 and 4. Nothing too crazy because more knowledge is always better. It doesn't really apply to the Arizona wine scene too much, but it's still helpful at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of community, one of the things that you guys talk a lot about in your podcast, which I think is great, is how wine intersects with the LGBTQ plus community. That's what I'm trying to say. Obviously, very close to your heart. I'm a supporter. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think that the more we can put wine out there to all walks of life, the better off we are going to be in the end. Tell us how that journey's been for the two of you working that into your community.
You got this.
So I would say, really, it's the LGBTQIA community. It's not necessarily at the forefront of my mind when I am working, because
Sure.
when I am on the floor, I am just doing what I'm doing and doing it as efficiently as possible. And at the end of the day, I really just hope that my actions, my words, and my personability is what shines, not my sexual orientation. I'm not trying to like hide that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to confuse people. I just want people to look at me and see, oh, like this is a respectable young gentleman who happens to be gay, but is just really good at what he does, and he's just living his life. Because again, that's what everyone else is doing, and I just hope that it's helping to not perpetuate stereotypes and just, I don't know. Once again, people want to buy wine from nice people, and if you're nice, people feel welcome. So
Yeah, definitely. The wine scene. Now you guys are in the greater Phoenix area, right? That's where you're located. Yep. In the greater Phoenix area, are the wine spaces becoming more inclusive? Have they always been very inclusive? Tell us a little bit about that.
I feel like they've always been inclusive, or maybe
But
we're
we're
just
too young.
we're also just aloof. Like really, we're just walking into places like, let's eat, let's buy wine, let's like hang out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I wouldn't say it's been like divisive in any way, shape, or form.
Perfect.
I've never noticed anything.
Yeah. If anything, it just comes back to the occasional snotty person that we meet because they assume we don't know anything because we're so young.
Yeah.
I get an awful lot of mansplainers, like older dudes that just want to tell me everything that I already know.
Yep.
But
yep. I hear that.
But it's fine. That's a part of the job.
Yeah. Most definitely. We're going to get the snobs. We're going to get the know-it-alls. We're going to get the mansplainers. And when we're in there, our job as the host, the person doing the tasting or serving the table or whatever the case is, to do it with a smile. Being in business as long as I have, I don't necessarily believe that the customer is always right. So I have fired customers, many customers over the years. That's what I say to my wife is, how did it go with that guy? Oh yeah, I fired him. He's no longer a customer. If you're not going to treat me with respect, and if you're not going to treat me with respect, then I'm not going to deal with you. I completely agree with that. Let's jump back to the podcast real quick. I think that, again, what you're doing is it's a lot of fun. I've been listening, and your banter is really fun to listen to. What's a story that you've told on, and you guys are pretty new at this too. So has there been a story that you almost didn't tell on air because it was a little too unfiltered?
I've cut stuff.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, a lot.
What made it into the show that gives us a little PG-13 action?
I think it's just like this stuff more about, you're good at filtering yourself, but about like my personal stories. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, maybe I should cut part of this.
And most of the time they
connect back to people in the community.
Yes.
That's
And
why.
we definitely use code names occasionally to refer to these people, but sometimes the situation is so specific that even using a code name, there's no way of getting around it.
And even if they themselves don't listen to it, just by using context clues, other people could definitely figure it out.
Yes.
Right.
But as far as what has made it to air, do you want to be... And plus, I always forget what we talk about, and then we release an episode, and oh, okay.
You're like,
I do that too.
Yeah. We definitely, the one that I can immediately think of off the top of my head is we did our most recent episode. There was a discourse about exotic foods, and I'm definitely the more adventurous one. Sage is the vegetarian, unfortunately, but I haven't tried like shark fin soup but anyways, the point of the story was we talked about, what's that French dish called? The drowned songbirds.
I can't remember what it's called, but that's what it is. It's a French dish that's illegal that drowns. It's because of the cooking process. They drown songbirds.
Yeah.
In brandy.
Oh, yeah. I do know what you're talking about, but I cannot think of the name of it. Yeah.
It's good that none of us know what it's called. Let's keep it that way.
Let's not even advertise that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the traditional way to eat it is to have a napkin over your head so that God's not watching you when you're eating them.
Yeah.
I remember us talking about that. But as far as personal stories,
like, didn't want to you regretted it after?
No, I'm trying to think of one. I don't think.
Oh, I've had a lot of regret because I just can't keep my mouth shut.
Well,
luckily I'm the editor, so I have final cut ability.
You got it. Yeah, you can cut that out. Make him look like the bad guy.
Yeah.
That's not possible.
Right. Oh, since we're on the subject of food, let's talk about food. That's what this podcast is about. A little bit of wine, a little bit of food, a little bit of travel. And I do want to talk about travel in a minute as well. But you guys have experience not only in the wine side, but in tasting rooms, serving food in restaurants, in food service and everything. What are some of Sage, give me your favorite dish, the best thing you've ever had to eat while you were out.
Oh my gosh. I've had so many good things. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
What comes to mind immediately?
Immediately, I want to talk about what I've had in recent history, I guess.
That works. Absolutely.
I feel like I ate some meal. I might have been with you, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. But do you remember me saying that?
I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what it was.
I remember we were at Christopher's.
Christopher's might have been like top 5 meals.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about the dessert. I think you were referring to
the dessert.
The dessert part.
But like every course of that was like, because it was like 4 courses. This is a place that we have no business going. It's way too expensive, but
it was fun too. It was
a good splurge.
Let's give them a plug. Yeah, Christopher's.
Oh, yeah.
Where are they located?
Christopher's at Wrigley Mansion. They are in the Biltmore district of the Greater Phoenix area.
Okay.
For specific cross streets, if you have any Arizona listeners, it's about 24th Street and Camelback. area. But no, it's a historic mansion, and the bottom floor has 2 restaurants and a wine bar, and it's also been converted into a wedding event space, and also you can go there and take tours of the rest of the building that they haven't turned into other businesses. And Christopher's is a high-end, it's definitely French inspired with like a slightly modern American twist. And food's ordered in a very traditional French fashion where you have your starters, your mains, and your desserts, and you choose one from each section. And that's just, from there, the experience just rolls on. But I would say, ooh, I really liked the foie gras that I had there. But as far as like perfect dish that I love to consume, it has to be at my current job that I work at. We have this chimichanga on the menu, and it's not a traditional chimichanga. It's made with duck carnitas, which are confit. And there is a cherry pecan mole, and coming from a Mexican background, I love mole. But this one at my job, it has, like I said, cherries and pecans, so it's a little bit sweeter, nuttier, not as spicy and chocolatey like most traditional Mexican moles. And then you get you get this like pickled vegetable salad on top, and I love pickled vegetables. And then you get some queso fundido, creamy like Mexican crema, and what is it, cotija, like sprinkled over top of it. It is just the crispiest, crunchiest, not overwhelmingly heavy chimichanga that I've ever had. I love it. It's so good.
I wasn't expecting duck confit chimichanga, but I love that answer. What are we going to pair with that duck confit chimichanga?
Ooh, so I would.
Put you on the spot.
Thank you. No, honestly, I love drinking the Chilean pais that we have with it. So pais, I usually recommend it for Pinot Noir drinkers, definitely on the lighter side. And what I like about it is I like to compare it between a crossover of Pinot Noir and Syrah, where you have the lightness of, but then Syrah tends to have a gamey barnyard funkiness that is present in pais. And served really cold, pais goes wonderfully, especially with a highly flavored dish like the chimichanga that I absolutely love to consume. It doesn't clash with the flavors that you have going on with it. But
it just sounds by your description, there's a lot of flavors, big flavors going on there. So you need something that is not going to overwhelm or overshadow the dish, but also you don't want the dish to overshadow the wine either. I think that sounds amazing. Let's talk about travel a little bit. Obviously, you guys have traveled a little bit in your education. Tell me about some of the fun stops that you've made over the last few years.
You want to start first?
As far as wine goes, I'm going to be like super, super lame and say my favorite wine country is the place that I grew up in, which is Oregon.
Okay, yeah.
And my reasoning is just it is very built up as in you can get all these fun little hotels to stay in. The restaurants are really good, and like the wine is also really good, and it's also very accessible. Like you're gonna go in and you're gonna get a very solid wine tasting experience. The owner's probably gonna come talk to you. It's not gonna be outrageously expensive.
Yep.
Just all that, and it's just all very accessible. It's not too stressful. All that different stuff. Whereas like some of the other places I've been, it's either like way too built up, and it's like Disneyland feel, and then or it's like there's just not enough, and you're like, okay, everything closes at 9.
Yeah, that's.
How about you, Lucrezio?
I would say my most memorable experience was we did a car tour of Champagne in France, and the 2 wineries we stopped at Lamiable, Lamiable, and we also stopped at Ployer Jacquemart. And those 2 wineries, we were treated like royalty. It was so much fun. We were the only ones on property. It was slow season for them anyway. But I don't know. It just, even my family that I was with, they're not champagne drinkers, and they were kind of turned on to, maybe because it was the experience, maybe they have a little bit of bias from that, but still, nonetheless, it was a really awesome experience, especially we did vertical tastings at each as well. just to see the changes from vintage to vintage was pretty spectacular. And the food, the cuisine, I love French food. I can't get enough of it, really.
For the listeners who don't know what a vertical tasting is, that's where we're going to taste, whether it be still wine or sparkling wine or whatever, in sequential vintage, starting with a 2022, 23, 24, et cetera, et cetera. And I just wanted to throw that out there in case people are like, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah, that's the Somm in me, right? Just explaining terms that I assume everybody knows, but
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, fantastic. So in your travels, are there any tips or tricks that you've learned in the places that you've traveled to, whether that's internationally or domestically here in the States, that you would want to give it as advice to our listeners? Because we love talking about travel, and I love talking about travel hacks and things like that. Give me one thing that you've learned from being on the road that you need everyone else in the world to know.
So I learned this semi-recently, especially after being in France. I feel like people talk about this ad nauseum and so many people ignore it because I used to ignore it, but make reservations.
Yes.
Make reservations.
Really?
And then for France specifically or anywhere in Europe, also know someone who speaks French and has a French phone number, because if you try to call certain places and make reservations when you're in France, nobody would answer my American phone number. They just
really?
they just wouldn't answer it at all. And it concerned me a little bit because I was like, I'm trying to move my reservation, but I can't even get a hold of them. But my French friend that was with me, she was like, let me try calling them. And then she called them on her phone number. She lives in France. And the first ring, they answer her phone immediately. and then yeah, exactly. And with her help, I was able to get everything situated. But yeah, make a reservation before you go, and make a friend while you're there so that they can help you figure out of being a foreigner.
I want to ask you the same question, Sage, but I would point out, in this world of technology, I completely agree with making reservations, dinner reservations, wherever you're going to go, even lunch reservations, wherever you're going to go. And if it's for an experience, absolutely make a reservation. In this world of technology, there is an open table in every country in the world. So I would also recommend downloading whatever the equivalent of open table is in the country that you're going to. So that's something that I learned semi-recently as well. And making reservations, and you can cancel / modify your reservations just with a touch of a button. So a little added trick right there. Sage, how about you? What's the one travel piece of advice you would give the audience?
I think that this might be like weird or like hard to achieve advice, but if you can do it, it makes your travel experience with wine or anything else so much better. And Lucrezio already said it, is make a friend.
Yeah.
Or make friends within whatever industry you want or whatever activity you want to do. And it just makes it so much easier and better. But sometimes it's hard, especially if there's a language barrier.
Of course.
Yeah, but recently I used to be more of a world traveler, but in recent years I've like honed it down a little bit, and I really prefer to go places where I know people, which sounds so not adventurous, and I'm sure I'll get back into international travel eventually, but it just changes the experience so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And a huge thread throughout all of my episodes of Pour and Explore is the human connection that wine, food, and travel brings us. And I think that's an excellent way to start wrapping up this episode, is talking about using wine as an icebreaker, using food as an icebreaker to make a friend, an acquaintance, expand your network. Whatever you want to call it, however you want to say it, is these things bring us together on a human level. And I think it's such a great way to go. And I talk about travel all the time as the ultimate education. It is If you live your entire life in a box, that's all you're ever going to know. And if you're not equipped to travel to France, you know what? If you're not able to travel to Paris, France, let's go to Paris, Texas. So if we're, just get out of there and check out what else is in the world. It really is the best way to educate yourself, to learn what other people are doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, and all of that stuff. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record to my listeners, but get your butts out there and go travel somewhere. One of my guests a few weeks ago said it great, is even if it's a walk around the block, just get out and go enjoy what's not in your little box. So I love that advice. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up today with a little lightning round. So this is a surprise for you, Sage. I warned Lucrezio in advance about the lightning round. This is something I started a few episodes ago, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Love the answers. So real quick, here we go. Orange wine, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay.
All right, yay. I completely agree. The worst, what you may have already answered this one, but the worst wine descriptor you've ever heard.
Oaky Afterbirth is pretty abysmal.
That's bad.
Either barnyard or my own made up one, which is antique store.
Antique store. Oh, I like that actually.
But it may not be like the most professional, but it makes it more tangible.
Absolutely. No, I love antique store. I'm going to use that. Or old books.
Yeah.
I was just, and I'm sorry, I'm totally interrupting the lightning round, but I was just in Bordeaux, and in the city of Bordeaux is the wine museum. This amazing wine museum, and it's multi-level, and it's got visuals, and it's really well done. And there's a tasting room on the top level and everything. But they had smell experiences where you literally put your nose up to a little funnel, and inside this glass container is a thing, and one of the things was a pile of old books. So I totally dig what you're, and when you smell it, it smells like old books. So I definitely dig what you're saying, Sage, about antique store. Love that.
I've also heard of sweaty gym socks. As
Yeah, that's not a good one. Or something you want to drink. All right, give us one wine you drink every day for the rest of your life, and there will be no judgment.
Oh my God. Provence Rosé.
Okay, love that answer. Sage, how about you?
New Zealand Sauv Blanc.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm still in my demographic.
yeah, little grassy, little tropical. I'm digging it. Love it. A sommelier superpower you wish you had.
I wish I could blind taste way better than I can right now.
Yeah.
Really good answer. Another, I want to get my nose. My olfactory. That just needs to be better for me, because palate wise, I can just go on and on. But I mean, smelling, because I recently just watched, what's it called, The Drops of God on Apple TV Plus, and the scenes where she was blindfolded and like smelling everything, and it was just like this one big test. It seemed like for the entire show. That I need to do that more. My nose.
Yeah, that's good. Let's get that olfactory sense in order. Love that. A wine trend that needs to die already.
Oh.
I tend to be one that likes the trends.
Okay.
Like orange wine specifically.
I have one natural wine.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that because I just, people have a misunderstanding of what sulfides are in wine.
Yep.
And like they're in every wine, they're in natural wine. It's not sulfide free. And I'm sick of people asking me about it and then me having to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
But,
to piggyback on a trend, the little sulfite sticks that people put in their wine.
Yeah.
Seen those?
Yeah, that needs to die 100%.
that's scam.
It is a scam.
Yeah. I'm writing an episode as we speak on natural wine and sulfites, etc., because I 100% agree that the news needs to be broken out there that it's not what you think it is, people. It's
Yeah.
fake news, as someone says.
And cheese isn't vegetarian, technically.
No, no, cheese is not vegetarian.
Yeah.
Not good cheese,
Never mind,
anyway.
okay.
It is not. All right, last question. The weirdest wine and food pairing you've ever enjoyed?
I don't even know how to begin to answer this.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I had my first Michelin experience at Saul in San Francisco, SSAL. And in one of, I think I had the 9-course tasting menu, and I had a wine pairing to go with everything. I forgot how the lobster was prepared, but the star of the show was the wine for me. It was, I believe it was like a 95 Sauvignon. And maybe it was the age. I don't know what was going on with it, but the wine tasted like shellfish, and it paired wonderfully with the lobster dish. That, of course, because like goes with course.
Yep.
And it was just, I just had never had a wine that was so savory, and it was just, yeah, I'll never forget it. I can't remember specifically what other wines I had. That was the most memorable in my experience.
I like, probably just because I'm a vegetarian, I like not locked in with the food pairings as much. And I was literally gonna go like way opposite. And I was like, I don't know, probably like a beefy 5-layer or a not beefy 5-layer burrito, and like some way, like I don't know.
Yeah.
When in doubt, just pair rosé with it. Rosé actually goes with a lot more food than most people tend to think. I think.
Yep, absolutely. And we're in summertime right now. By the time this airs, we'll probably be late summer, but yeah, rosé all day. I'm a huge rosé fan. Great answers, guys. I really appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much for your time today, and I will talk to you guys really soon. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
right back at
you.
you. Thank you.
Man, what a blast that was. A huge thank you to you both for being on the show and for keeping it real today. It's refreshing to talk to people who understand that being a nice person is the most important part of being a wine pro. If you enjoyed their stories as much as I did, make sure you head down to the show notes and make sure you're following them on all of their various social media channels and subscribing to the Secret Lives of Sommeliers. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, YouTube as well. And we really, really would appreciate that in advance. Hey, don't forget to do that for me too. If you enjoyed what you're hearing today, head over and check out my stuff too. I would very much appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit that share button. I would very much be appreciative. Before we head out, remember, don't let the snobbery get in the way of a good time. Use those quote unquote antique store descriptors. Try that orange wine and never apologize for what is in your glass. Keep wondering and wandering, everyone. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Pour and Explore. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear your stories or questions. Drop me a message at cheers@thewineguy.vin. That's cheers@thewineguy.vin. Or let's connect on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Grab those links at thewineguy.vin. Until next time, let's keep wondering and wandering. Cheers, everybody.